morning. Okay, we are Siman Reish Shabbat Chavav. We're in Sif Yud Aleph.
Sif Yud Aleph.
Yes.
Okay.
Done. Okay, so we are rolling. Cameras are rolling. Okay, good. So, hope everyone is had a good week. We continue our learning this morning with Sif Yud Aleph, Siman Reish Shabbat Chavav. And last time we began Sif Yud Aleph, but I want to go back just to get this pun absolutely intended, a running start. You'll understand why that's a joke in a moment. Okay, so Haisa Chavila Munachas al Ksefo V'Kidei Shalav Hayom. So again, a lot of our situations in the Siman are not a lot. All of them are situations which are not ideal. We are in a situation where Shabbos has started, and we are not home, and we are carrying with us something of great value, something that just can't be left. Not that it can't be; it could be left on the side of the road. But Chazal understood that human nature was such that I was not going to leave certain things, and in order to avoid biblical prohibitions, the rabbis allowed certain rabbinic prohibitions to be trampled over. So. Relaxed. We'll call it relaxed. They didn't enforce them or didn't extend them to certain situations. So here we have a bundle. Chavila is a bundle. So the person has his bundle and it's he's carrying it on his shoulders, and it becomes Shabbos. Ratz tachteha ad beso. What does this person do? Now again, option A would be drop it and leave it. And call it a day. That's what the price of being an Orthodox Jew means. Sometimes it costs us. But if that's not the reality that we're dealing with, we have something that's valuable here. So the Chazal allow us to run underneath it, meaning while I'm carrying it, I can continue running with this item on my shoulder until I get to my house. Now, the Shulchan Aruch clarifies here, which is the dafka ras. When the Gemara says run, it doesn't just mean as an example run. It means dafka run. Why specifically I have to run? All right, we'll get to that in a moment. If you walk slowly, even though you're walking, no good. Because since there's no differentiation, nothing that will be catching my attention. Right, makir is to acknowledge and to have knowledge of something. Right. Therefore, I may end up doing a akira and a hanacha, a uplifting and a resting. Why? Well, if I'm running, two things. Number one, on a very simple level, if I run, less likely that I will stop. I might stop, but I will make sure that when I'm walking slowly, I might start walking and I stop for a moment and then I continue. Running is a much easier way to measure that I'm in continuous motion. Now, what's the situation again here? I'm walking. Oh, Shabbos starts. I'm walking. Now, so the Chazal say, don't just continue walking, change to a run. Don't continue walking.
Don't dribble.
And don't right. There's no double dribble in this. Right. Once you're on motion, you can continue. That you can continue to do because the Akira didn't happen on Shabbos. But the worry was that I might stop for a moment if I'm walking. Then the item came to rest. Now, when I continue walking, the item is lifted up anew. It's starting in its motion anew, and therefore I have an Akira. And then when I stop at some later point, there will be a Hanach. Right? What does that mean? Sometimes there are times when it happens and I don't even notice. When you're walking, you walk slow, and sometimes you may pause for a moment. You look down, on my shoes tied? Yeah, okay, good. I keep walking. But I stopped for that second. I stopped. Then therefore, that will allow for an Akira to happen as opposed to with running. Running will ensure and prevent that I ever had an Akira. Now, they don't deal with the question here about how far are you? Can you really run all the way till the end? By the way, sometimes running is not. You could run for a certain amount and then you're out of breath, and in fact, at that point, you may be more likely to slow down and then stop and then continue. But we'll understand here that I don't know that you have to be running the 100-meter dash here. You could have something where there's a shinui, as the Mishnah Berurah is going to describe it. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah, and then we'll break this down.
Rav,
Yes,
Rav, it says
go
here,
ahead.
the thing you want to avoid is akira and hanacha. And yet Yud Aleph starts with hoisacha v'gaso munacha, which is the same shoresh as v'hanacha. You're doing the same thing on your shoulder. So where is the prohibition? How do you confront the prohibition in a discernible and permissible manner?
So just to clarify, the beginning of Sif Yud Aleph happens on Erev Shabbos. Munachas al ksefo ve'kidesh alav hayom, and then it becomes Shabbos at some point. So that lifting up of the item onto the shoulders, that placing of the item, that munachas means it was placed on, right? So somebody placed it on his shoulders, he's carrying this item, and then it becomes Shabbos. So that hanacha doesn't register as relevant at all because it's not Shabbos. Now the question is, I need to avoid the action of both an akira and a hanacha together. If I do one without the other, that is not a biblical prohibition, that's a rabbinic prohibition, which here Chazal, to use BJ's expression, Chazal they lighten the load here. They relax their expectations here. But as long as we avoid both an akira and a hanacha together, we are in this situation okay. That is our goal. Okay. Now, the Mishnah Berurah in Chav Tes says the following: Ratz tachta, the chol kama delo amad lafush, right? Ein kan akira b'Shabbos. So long as I avoid standing still, right, for a moment of rest, or a moment to catch my breath, there is no akira here that happens on Shabbos. The akira happened before Shabbos, and therefore, if I keep going, I'm not at risk of biblical violation. Obviously, this is a step down from what we've been talking about in previous shiurim, right? When we have available a non-Jew. Having a non-Jew do it for me is better than me doing it. If I have cheresh shota v'katan, or a katan, a deaf mute, someone who is mentally not aware at all of where they are, of their surroundings, they're completely not there, or a katan, it is preferable to go down that road, and have those folks do this rather than I do it. Now, if not, then this becomes relevant. We talked about another solution, which was walking less than 4 amos at a time, right? If that's not available to me, why would that not be available? I'm not in a dangerous neighborhood. I'm where people are going to bandits are going to steal. They're going to point the gun at my head, right? Or there's a stream that is wider than 4 amos, meaning I can't stop in the middle of it. What am I going to do? Submerge myself? That's not a realistic situation. So therefore I'm going to have to do 4 amos, more than 4 amos in one moment. So I'm going to have to do this where I'm running. And by the way, if you're running, you probably can jump the 4 amos over the stream of water. Okay, depending on what you're carrying, right? I had the long jump in the Olympics usually doesn't feature a load on your back.
Think about that. That's pretty far. Particularly you get to a certain age.
6 or 7 feet. Yeah, it's not
7 or 8.
Right.
You're doing long. I'm hoping the short.
Right. It depends if Chaim. Right.
Seriously, right?
Right. Yes. It's so there. Yeah. No. It's you may end up. Whatever. Maybe the sheesh. Why shouldn't I step in it? Pachos amos and step in the water. I don't know. Maybe it's not. That's not a really. Lead to other problems at some point. I don't know. Wet shoes and this. So you don't have to. There's no. You can go to this solution. I guess which. I guess I'm not sure. You're still gonna have to step in the water unless the BJ. Unless you can jump over it. I don't know how you avoid the water. But that's not here on there. That's just an example here. By Masha Katapti Besavach, the Lididan, less one of Shus Rabim Gemura. After at the Shar B'Cholim. Maybe, he says here, in our situation, where we live, there are no such thing as a Rosh Hashanah Deoraisa. Truly, 600,000 people are passing on a daily basis. And therefore, it's not a Deoraisa. So maybe, whatever you want to choose any of these solutions. I mean, they're Rabbanan, it's still not great. So we'd rather you choose one of these solutions than violate straight up the rabbinic law of carrying in a Rosh Hashanah. Maybe this way you're doing it with a Shinoi and it's better. So, anyways, therefore, maybe any of these options are available to you, right? After the Shard B'chol Inyan, you want to do it Pachos Me'arba Amos, you want to run, you want to that's what he says here in the note 42. If you're looking, I know Tommy, you have this version of Af Larutz that shows on Arbach, right? She'eno Tzarich. So according to Rav Arbach, you don't have to even run. What are we worried about here? At the end of the day, it's all the Rabbanan anyways. So you want to walk. Try not to stop. Better to not stop, but you don't have to run. Dafka run. Take a look here now at the next comment of the Mishnah Berurah. Sifkat on Lamed. There are times when you're just going to stop, right? Simply the times that it happens. Now, if there is a moment of stop where you stand to fix the burden on your back, it's falling off, it's tilting to the side, then you're potter. Because that in halacha, even though yes, you stopped, in halacha, that's not called stopping. Or that's not called an ashot. Let me use a technical term here. That's not called hanacha. That's not called bringing the item to rest. Shifting the item because it's about to fall and I'm trying to readjust it is not called halachically a hanacha. Even if I may have come to rest, I didn't move because I stopped in order to adjust. That's not called a halachic hanacha. Hanacha literally means the item comes to rest. If I'm walking, and then I take a moment to pause, that's the item coming to rest. But if I stop in order to adjust the item, that's not called hanacha according to halach.
It's not just putting it down. You didn't put it down, it's still getting the rest. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's saying something different. He's saying something different. He's saying that if you just stopped and you didn't put it down, that would still be nothing.
Correct.
It will still be enough.
Yes,
I believe
but
so,
when
yes.
you're doing an adjustment, that's what he said. But
Yeah.
if you're doing an adjustment, then an adjustment said you didn't really put it down. You just adjusted.
It didn't come to its resting point because the whole reason for the moment of stopping was to adjust, was not to let it rest, or you rest and then ultimately your item rests, right? And yeah,
That's actually a better way of putting it. Like you said, it didn't come to a rest because you're in the process.
yeah, I'm still
right?
trying to adjust it and whatever, right? For a moment, it might not have moved, right? When I stopped, it may not have moved. Right. I'm looking here as we were talking, by the way.
Clever.
Right, keeping it moving. Yeah. We've trained you well to think like halachas, right? If you look at note 43, by the way, Tommy, and everyone just going to listen here. If you stand in order to just lower the burden, Rav Shlomo Auerbach says imagine that he says a case where you come to a rest. It's not to say that you're adjusting the item, but you stand to take it down for a second. Your shoulders need a rest or something like that. You take it off for a second, and then you're going to put it back on. He says that's not the same as this. When the thing you stop in order to reshift the item, it's tilting this way, it's tilting. That's you didn't bring the item to a rest. Your item still, it's still on its journey. When you stop in order to put it down because you're struggling, your shoulders are hurting, that is a hanacha for the item, even though you do plan to continue to carry it. Again, the adjustment is like, okay, here it's almost like a little bit of your kavana in stopping, because from a physics perspective, the item has stopped being in motion. But this was not it stopped being in motion in order to continue to the process of moving it. When you put it down, even though you do have more to go, to help your shoulders rest, that's bringing the item to a complete rest.
Down, actually put it down.
Yes.
Just holding it.
Right. According to this case of Rosh Hashanah, he's talking about a case of you stand there in order to Omed, I take a moment to stop in order to put the burden down. That's a very different kind of situation. Yeah. Okay. If you look at Lam and Aleph now, you can read this one as well. Lam and Aleph, what is the running about? The running is about creating a shinui. Of course, if you continuously walk, there's no akira. Of course, there's going to be no akira. The whole point here is to avoid that you should ever stop. That's why you have to run. There should be a shinui b'halichos al yedei kain yizkor Shabbos v'lo yamo. Because you're running, you're forcing yourself. That's why if I say speed walking, okay, you're doing something that's a little bit abnormal from how you would normally traverse. Therefore, you will remember it's Shabbos and you will not stop. V'lo yamod. I will not come to a rest and stand with this item. Now, if you go back upstairs to the Shulchan Aruch, let's just finish off your Aleph. Now, here's the problem. Who can anticipate what the problem is? If I'm running, or even speed walking, right? I'm taking this item at some point to the closest place where I can unload this so that it is not damaged or stolen, whatever. Yes, good. The problem is, at some point, I'm going to have to put this into a private domain space. The whole point of this is I don't want to leave it in the public, right? Because I'm worried it will be stolen. It's so valuable. So even if I don't go into somebody's house, right? Even if I just leave it in a courtyard, I have to enter some other domain, and that is a problem in and of itself. I could walk half an amma, and I go half an amma from a Rishus Rabbim to Rishus Yachid. That's a problem. Now, the other problem is, whenever you go to your house, let's say you go for a run. At what point do you stop running? Or yeah, let me ask you this way: at what point am I forced to stop running?
When you get home.
Thank you. The door will be closed, and therefore, the normal way of a human being when you get to a gate or a door is to slow down, or at the very least, right, to slow down and probably stop for a second because I have to push it open. I have to get the key, something, or maybe there's a gate and if I'm not going to run through it, right? Even if I slow down to push it open, I'm slowing down. So he says here, when you get to you're approaching the house. Now here's what's going to happen. What's the problem? Again, if what I'll slow down for a moment, and I will, and what will happen? It'll turn out that I will go. I will enter from Rishus Harab. Ayel does not mean to go up in Aramaic; it means to enter. All in modern Hebrew, ayin lamed hey is to go up, to go, to go up. So here it goes to go in. We're going to go in from Rishus Harab to Rishus Hayachid. Because why? I'll have stopped for a moment right before the door, or the gate, whatever the situation is. All right, and I stop, push, go. Now I have an akira in the Rishus Rabbim, and I have a hanacha in the Rishus Yachid, and that is a biblical violation, even if it's less than 4 amos. Right? And now I'm in trouble. So what should I do? How do I halachically avoid the biblical prohibition of getting inside? I'm at the door of the house. Right. So the Mishnah Berurah here says, I'm not Mishnah Berurah, excuse me, the Shulchan Aruch, which is really channeling the Shulchan Aruch, the Gemara. Simeon already read ahead, and he's not liking this. Zarik la kila'ach hayad. You throw it in the house from the outside. Push the door open, and then you take the item and you throw it in abnormally. How do I do that? And we'll talk about it in a moment. The hainu shalot kederech zrika. I throw it in not the way that you would normally throw it in. How do I do that? What's an example? Kigon mikseifav ula'acharav. And take a look now here at the Mishnah Berurah, because he gives a little more color commentary on the situation. The hainu. What does this mean doing it kilachayad? Kilachayad means with the back of your hand, right? You're doing it abnormal way. That's what it means. Here's what you should do. The Mishnah Shulchan Aruch is describing according to the Mishnah where you turn around with your back to the door, right? Klape hachatzer, and you're facing the chatzer, right? Shemahapech hachorav klape hachatzer. Vizorko, so you're turning away from the chatzer, the courtyard, whatever the door is here we're talking about. Vizorko mikteifav. Yeah, and then I take it and I go over the back of my shoulder, over my shoulders, into the courtyard.
Break everything.
And no, this is
your wallet. You're carrying your bag of money.
Right here, it's a chavila that's it's not breakable. It's just valuable. This is what the rokeach was. It was the Rishon describes. Now, this is a general principle. When you do things the not normal way of doing it, it automatically in every situation is not a biblical violation. Why? Because the Torah only prohibited things. This is the understanding of Chazal's. This is the Chazal's interpretation of the Torah. Is it only prohibited malachos that are done the way that they were normally done, right? So the way it was done in the Mishkan this is the normal way it was done. Not done that way, it's not a violation. Maybe the Rabbanan it's a violation. The rabbis, of course, didn't like that. But in terms of being on the hook for all the punishments that come with a biblical prohibition, it's only when it's done the way that it's normally done. There may be a few different ways that things are normally done. But we can all agree that the way that you would bring items into your house, if you have groceries from in your car and you're bringing them into your house, the normal way of bringing groceries in is to carry them in. You can carry it on your arm, on your hand, maybe over, using a finger, using 10 fingers because you're carrying 10 bags. The abnormal way of bringing your groceries is going to the door, turning around and start tossing cans of tuna in this way. That is not the normal way of bringing tuna into your house. And that's what's being described here, is that you're throwing it in backwards, because of the potential loss of whatever's in the bundle, right? The rabbis allowed you here to do this kila achayad. The kila achayad, and just remember this for our learning going forward, kila achayad is going to be not an insignificant heter in situations which are where there's a pressing need. Just remember it. Don't forget it. It's a very important principle. Yes, Simeon, I see you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out you can't do that here in Florida because in Florida they call that the backhand.
So maybe in Florida it's not kila achayad. Okay, you heard it here first from Simeon, the psak about Florida. Okay, all right, good. Now we're gonna go on to Yud Beis. Let's go to Yud Beis here. Okay. All right. Good timing. Here we go. Now, this is really a continuation of the previous thought. So don't forget what we just learned in Yud Aleph. Yesh Omrim. There are those that say, and here the Ran quotes the Ramban, the Dafka b'chavila hitiru la'asos kein, avalo b'chiso. This is only a heter when it comes to a large bundle. Not when it comes to a keys, like a little bag, which we talked about before, right? A keys sometimes is where, again, certainly it's small items for when you have a keys, right? And a keys sometimes can have money in it. It's sometimes it's a smaller item. So only large items is heter allowed. Small items, no. Why not? Let's pause in the middle of the Shulchan Aruch, look at the Mishnah Berurah. Let's understand.
You don't even do the second part of that. And
the other Yesh Omrim?
Yeah.
We'll get there in a moment. This is very quick. I just want to finish the thought process by opinion number one here of the Ramban. The Dafka, now this is Lamed Gimel, the Dafka b'chavila. Why only by a chavila but not by a kis? Sheich Veda. It's heavy. Ve'ein derech larutz b'masa chaved. And it's not normal to run with a heavy burden on your back. Therefore, there's like this shinui. I know I can't stop. And there, my running is reminding me, I can't stop. And I'm carrying this heavy item on my back. And the fact that I'm running is already abnormal. And therefore, it continues my awareness, is probably the right word here, of the fact that I am in a place, Shabbos meaning, where I cannot stop. Yes, go ahead.
When we're talking about Heker B'Ritzah, that's so he himself remembers in Shabbat he's going out of the ordinary method
Of how to carry an item like this,
but
right?
don't we have a general Isur to not run on Shabbat?
That's only that's only midrabanan at best. Excellent point. We will in this year, and you're more than welcome. By the way, I know you're visiting here this Shabbos, but you're more than welcome to continue following on YouTube. So you'll have to tune in about 2 years. We'll get there. That statement will probably get to that point. It's in Shin.
We say it during Kiddush.
Right, correct. By the way, for actually Ashkenaz should say it too. Sorry, we're makbid to say it though. Im tashkim Shabbat raglecha, which is a psukim from the 58th chapter of Yeshayahu, which are interpreted by Chazal to be that the way you walk on Shabbos should not be the way you walk during the week. Meaning you shouldn't run, right? The weekdays we're running from this to that. You should be walking benachas on Shabbos. And when it comes to the way you dress, that's where we learn that the way you dress on Shabbos should not be the way you dress on a weekday. It should be there should be a differentiation and all of these things, but that's only midrabanan. Even the fact that it's the source of this, as BJ pointed out, is from the Navi, right? It's not from the Torah, and therefore it can't be by its very definition. It can't be a doraita. So yeah, I assume the Chazal are not concerned here about the running. You are right though. You're supposed to avoid running. Unless you're running is not always 100% prohibited, by the way. The Shulchan Aruch is pretty clear that if you're running towards a shir, you're running to shul, you're allowed to do those things because the purpose of my running is actually to enhance Shabbos.
Right.
To run to something that is not, I'll put it this way, it doesn't have any spiritual reason for the running, then probably you should avoid the running. Yeah, very good. So so it's heavy. Aval bekis, he says here, the Mishnah Berurah points out for this opinion, shu kal, which is very light, ein heker beritza. There's no distinguishing that's happening with the running. I run all the time when I'm running during the weekdays. I'm carrying my little bag, my little purse, I'm always running. This, that. Life is 24/7. You were running, and therefore I won't distinguish in my mind continuously that it's Shabbos, and therefore avoid the stopping that may occur. That's the
Yeshom was not about the tossing. This Yeshom was about the running, the whole
correct.
thing. Okay.
That's right. Now, what about? Let's go back up on top. The Yeshomim, who didn't lakiso? No, there's no differentiation. We used the word chavila in the previous sif, but that was just an example. It's all items where I can't use any of the earlier heterim, the non-Jew, the donkey, there are all these different things, right? If I have no option, and I can't walk pachos maraos, so even if I only have a keith, a small bag, that's still an option that I have available to me to run with it. Okay, take a look at Lamed Daled. According to this approach, this opinion, this Yeshomim, which comes is opinion of the Smag, I believe, and the Smak, and Rabbeinu Yerucham. What is going on here? Oh, he's just makes the point I just made. Obviously, again, you're only doing this if all the other avenues are not possible. The non-Jew, the animal, the whatever. The Taz Paskin that said if you want to be making like this, Yesh Omer, so you don't lose anything. You want to use his opinion, use his opinion. The cost of Hamagin Avram. Hamagin Avram writes in the name of the Shem Hashilte Giborim. Done. That for us, the lay slan reshus harabim. We don't have a reshus harabim d'oraisa. Efshar lekule al mashar b'cholim. It's all good. You want to carry the small bag this way. Use this heter with the small bag. Okay, whatever. You don't have to go through the other hoops and loops. Running is faster than the tachos, bachos, ma'aramos, whatever it is. It sounds like that because our whole situation is only rabbinic in nature from the get-go, therefore perhaps it's possible that the lekule alma, according to everybody, it's permissible in all these manners. You'll choose one of these drachim, one of these ways to carry the item. to get it home. But it certainly, therefore, even I think the claim is here that even the other Yeshomrim who said, "Oh, Dafka Chavila," would say, "Whatever, it's all Derabanan anyways." In our situation, so therefore, if you want to carry a keys, go ahead, carry a keys. Again, you can't do this lechatchila, of course not. But you got to get it home. You'll figure out one of these ways to do it. You want to run, you want to put it on the donkey, you want to whatever you want to do. Simeon, go ahead, I see your hand up.
Yes, Rob, do we hold that there's no such thing or almost never such a thing as a Rishus HaRabim? I
Can I
think
ask a question? Is that in Florida or in Scarsdale?
so somebody shoot that man. I'll take care of it.
Too soon. So Simeon, your question is an excellent question that many poskim have certainly weighed in on. The reality is that using the methodology that requires 600,000 people to traverse a particular road, it's not so easy to find such a thing, even in a dense area. Okay, so that's why I think I mentioned before in the shir, the machlokas about in Manhattan about Broadway. Broadway is because Broadway is too well traversed. Therefore, it cannot. It's a Rishus Ram Daraisa, which is why you can't. Rishus Ram Daraisa, you can never build an Eruv. It doesn't help. Eruv only helps when you have a Carmelist, which is another way of calling it as a Rishus Ram Darabanan. But there are other definitions of what they make something a Daraisa. I think I've also mentioned in this context in the shir that the Mishnah Brura paskins that a rechov the haholech me'ir le'ir. You have a street that carries you from one city to the other, which you would call a highway. Its job is to connect different cities. Not local streets are really their main purpose is to connect you, locally. But a highway, the egg. How many? By the way, you go on places like the New York State Thruway. Sometimes it can be 10 miles between exits. Right. The whole goal of a highway is to connect cities, not to connect you with your local community. So the Mishnah Berurah paskins, that's the Rosh Hashanah D'Oraisa by its very definition. It don't matter how many people go on that street, because of the very nature of the road. Which is why there are Rav Hershel Schechter is, if I'm not mistaken, I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but I remember learning. I feel very confident in my learning that I remember that he's of the opinion. And actually, I know this for sure because Rabbi Jachter, who we're going on our Eruv tour in a week and a half here in the community, always says that the hutch is a rechov me'ir le'ir. It's meant to connect Scarsdale to Harrison and to connect it to. I know you'll say, it changes to the Merritt Parkway when you get to Connecticut. Okay, but even before you get to the Merritt Parkway, there are many different cities. You go back 100 years to go from here to what's that town? The northeast. Which is right at the edge of the New York border. It would have taken you a long time, but now you have first of all you have faster transportation. But if you have a road that clears the path, you'll get there faster. Anyways, so my point is that is the Rosh Hashanah, and you can't build an Eruv around it. So I don't think Rabbi Hershel Schechter would probably utilize our Eruv currently because it includes the Hashna. Now there are plenty of poskim who say no, that's not a categorization. That's psul midoraisa. And that's the Mishnah Berurah's opinion.
Right. Trying to remember because we went through this with
Rav Tendler probably.
with Rav Tendler at the time.
Right.
And I remember because
Rav Moshe would hold that this is not. Rosh will hold you still need the 600,000. And he say no, you dafka have to have that as well, right? And by the way, probably Rav Moshe and Rav Tendler probably held the same thing, right? So Rav Moshe held it. You have to always have the 600,000, and I think I've told you that story, right? I tell you, I don't believe the story for a second. But that he looked out the window of his apartment of Moshe from the Lower East Side, and he would count on the FDR. He would be counting how many cars are passing by on in one day to figure out is it 600. I don't think that's a crazy story. I don't know. Maybe he did it. I have no idea.
I remember we got studies from New York State on traffic on the Hutch.
Right.
Basically,
now you have what's it called? With all the easy pass, you can have so much data on how many people are going past a particular area now in one day. Look, if you wanted to make that part of the Eruv, this Eruv, and then you could, what you, Rabbi Jack has explained to me is that you can build basically an Eruv around the hutch, therefore blocking it out from this current Eruv, and therefore, but again, Rav Moshe Feinstein is more than enough to rely upon. And many communities have this problem. By the way, the 5 towns has this problem. Okay, the 5 towns in the middle here. My in-laws are from Woodmere. The LIRR goes right through the middle of Woodmere, and the Eruv goes around it. And so supposedly the story is, again, I'm not firsthand, that when the Shechter was taking a tour of the 5 towns of Eruv, got up to the trail road and said, "What do you do here?" So the Eruv keep going. Okay, we're done. Like there's nothing, because like a railroad tracks are meant to connect the Aruch HaShulchan says this, because there was already railroads in his day. The Aruch HaShulchan says a railroad is a Rishus Harabim D'Oraisa, because the train is meant to connect you not from here to your neighbor down the block, but it's meant to connect you to the next town over. That's the whole point of a train. Therefore, the whole railroad track cannot be part of your Eruv. Otherwise, it blows up the Eruv in its entirety. So, my point here in answering your question, Simeon, is that we perhaps have Rishus Harabim D'Oraisa situations in our world. Depends which posting you follow. So it's not inconceivable that these situations could happen. So, anyways, so don't. Next time, my point is, don't hike along the highway. Otherwise, it's just okay. Now, let's take a look now. More interestingly, this is a situation that has happened in the last year here in the shul. I got the Shiloh. Okay, and I will imagine that many of us have gone through this in life. We're going to need to now separate carrying in public domain versus carrying muktzah. Those are 2 completely different problems. They're both carrying, so that's why there's a connection here. Take a look at the Ramah. You didn't realize you're carrying a little purse on you or something of that little bag on you. So presumably what's inside the contents here are problematic to carry. So it could be money, could be whatever it is, problematic to carry. I'm realizing this in my house. I'm wearing it. I want you to imagine now here, it sounds like what they're going to describe here is like a fanny pack. Okay, I'm wearing a fanny pack and I have perhaps some money, something that's muktzah that I'm not allowed to be carrying. And I didn't realize, I forgot that I have it now on me in a Shabbos. But I'm in my house in this situation. I'm in my house. So I can go to my room, allowed to go to my room, and lahatir chagoro, to untie my chagoro, my belt, velipol sham lahatzniyo, and it falls down on its own. And now it's in my room, so I don't have to be worried and concerned about whatever, that someone's going to go through my stuff, that it gets misplaced, whatever. V'im hu, turn the page, bashuk. What if I'm in the marketplace when this happens? I'm walking on the street on Shabbos, and I realize I have a realization suddenly I'm carrying something I'm not allowed to be carrying. And I'm not talking about, and the Mishnah Berurah points this out here in Lamed Vav, and I'm going to read the first line of Mishnah Berurah Vav, and we'll come back to the rest of it. But I'm in the shuk, okay? I'm in a place where they didn't make on the street. Sorry, I'm just reading this one more time for myself, just realizing something. Sorry. So here, actually, when I have a situation, here I don't have a heter to carry it. I was preparing this, I misread it. So good, I read it again. Here, I am not allowed to carry. I didn't do shitufei mavos. Shituf mavos is like essentially setting up an eruv chatzeros. Shituf means a partnership. A shitufei mavos is the way like people who share an alleyway have combined their food items in order to basically essentially make an eruv chatzeros in order for me to carry and you can carry, we can all carry. So here, therefore, it's asur lahavio leveso. Obviously, I can't carry it. That's a separate reason now. Rak matir chagora bashuk. So what should I do? Back in the Mishnah Ramah here, I should untie my chagoro, my belt. Vehuno fell, and it should fall there in the shuk. Veomer le'yehudi, but I'm allowed to go over to a non-Jew. I find a non-Jew over there in the shuk. it's, by the way, a shuk of all Jews, then there should be no worry because everyone keeps Shabbos and no one will touch my stuff, right? If I'm living in the perhaps it's BJ, right? Right? If it's a Jewish neighborhood, I should be able to be matir my chagoro. It falls down. I shouldn't have to worry that anyone's going to pick it up, right? But here, let's presume it's a mixed community, Jews and non-Jews. So I can go over to a non-Jew in the marketplace and say, "Can you wash this for me? I'm a Jew. I'm not allowed to do this." So if he brings it to my house, he follows me to my house, and he says, "Okay, sure, I'll watch it for you," and he picks it up, and he's following me to my house. I explained to him, I can't carry this on Shabbos, on my Sabbath. I can't do it. And he follows me to the house. I open the door to the house. He throws the bag in and says, "Have a nice day, sir." Okay, so I got lucky. I have an non-Jew here who wanted to. Okay. Yeah, if the non-Jew wants to bring it to my house, okay. So what am I to do? I told her I didn't tell her to bring it. I said, "Can you watch it for me? I'll find you after Shabbos. Where do you live? You live at the corner of Broadway and 110th. Great. I'll see you. I'll find you. Don't worry." No, of course not. Exactly, because I'm asking him to violate perhaps a biblical prohibition if it's a Rishus Harabim Daraisa. Right, and even though that's only the Rabbanan, I'm asking a non-Jew to do something. Okay, we try to do as little as we can. Right. Now we'll deal with the last line here of the Ramah in a moment, but let's go back now to Lamed Hey.
This out of Beit Yosef.
Right, that last part was from the Beit Yosef, Shin Tet. Yeah. Rav, sorry, Simeon, go ahead.
Rav, we learned from you in an earlier shiur that if you can't do it on Shabbos, you can't do Amira Le'eno Yehudi on Shabbos.
Correct. I stand by my statement.
And this is consistent.
And in many ways here, I have not asked him, by the way, to do anything wrong. I asked him to watch it. If he wants, he could stand there all Shabbos and watch the thing. He doesn't have to pick it up. So first of all, I don't even know if you even asked him to do anything that's truly problematic. Because if he chooses to pick it up, that was his own choice. I didn't tell him he has to violate anything here. He could stand there, pull up a lawn chair and sit next to the thing the whole Shabbos for me, right? Now, and I would even argue here, even if I did ask him, it's only a rabbinic violation, Simeon. Remember, anytime it's Amir L'Arachri, it's rabbinic. So when if I do it, it's biblical. If I ask a non-Jew, it's rabbinic. Therefore, there are going to be some leniencies in certain circumstances where asking the non-Jew is going to be allowed. Not because it's the best situation here, but because under the circumstances, it's better for the non-Jew because he's going to only be on for me asking him, it's only a rabbinic problem as opposed to a biblical one if I do it myself. And therefore, there will be some distinguishing cases where Chazal will allow it. Here, I'm not even sure that I even did that. Here I said, "Can you watch this?" Guard it, actually. L'shomro. Guard it. Technically, he doesn't have to pick it up to guard it. He could stand there and tell everybody, keep moving, keep moving. So that's my response to that. Okay, Lamed Hey.
I don't know.
Lamed Hey, Mishnah Berurah says, Yochol Lelech. Here he's commenting on the case where I was in my house, where there's no violation of carrying. It's just muktzah. Okay, I'll tell you the case that happened to me here. I had a young man who asked me, he realized he had $22 on him in his pocket on Shabbos. The young man is a stark guy. He comes over to me, it's middle of Shabbos. What do I do? Or not better yet, sorry. He had already at that point, shaken his jacket pocket and the money had come out. He took the garbage can. No coins. It was just the dollar bills.
How do you hear it if you're shaking your jacket?
No, he shook it. They got it out. Oh, how did you hear it? He shook it. No. He realized he probably put his hand in his pocket. He probably realized he had money. He shook the contents out, right? Not to try to directly handle it. They were now on the ground here in the hallway near the coat room. He took the garbage can that's near over there, and he took the garbage can and he put the garbage can on top. And then he came over to me and said, "Rabbi Klinger, first of all, did I do the right thing? And now what do I do from here?" And I said, "Oh, it's an interesting shayla." And what happened? Lo and behold, I did a quick, I went over, I got the Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah, okay. And I ended up Right here. This is where I ended up. This is the answer to the question. Take a look at Mishnah Berurah. So, Yochol Leilech v'chulei. Keven she'amuktzeh biyodo. Look, I have muktzeh in my hand here. Whether it was money or it could be another item, by the way, that's muktzeh. Yochol Leilech imo l'chol makom she'yirtz. According to the psak here at the beginning, this first psak, you can walk to whatever room you need to walk inside this building, inside this house, and you'll free it wherever you need to so that it's hidden. I don't need the other people, I'm in an apartment building. Jews, non-Jews, whatever. Okay, you're already in the building. You have this realization. Open the door to your apartment building, and you'll drop it in you'll shake it out in your apartment building. Or here, it's the answer is matir chagoro, right? You unbuckle it and it falls. Now, that's not the only opinion here to talk about. The Vilna Gaon was machmir on this case. He did not think you have time to go to your room and untie there. It sounds like the Vilna Gaon thought you had to be matir it on the spot once he realized it. He says, take a look at what the Derech Chaim says in the Be'er Halacha. Now, let me tell you what he says here. Take a look at the Be'er Halacha, the very bottom of the Be'er Halacha. It's the bottom line. Says, look what I wrote about the name of the Gra. Okay, good. The Gra says you have to let it go right then and there. But the Derech Chaim says, if the keys has a Torah's kli on it, meaning it's a vessel. It's not carry. It didn't become a basis to coins or to money. But it's a kli, and for whatever reason, it's a kli shemalach toliester. Let's say I think I use it's something that I don't use for any mutter purposes. Since it was placed in my pocket, I didn't do this on purpose. It was in my pocket. I didn't realize I was carrying it.
If you've got, let's just say, bills in your jacket pocket. It's one thing. Is the wallet what he's talking about here? Because that would be a bus.
Yes, that probably would be.
Right? It's not going
to here. Let's say it's like the case actually this young man asked me. And I did a little research on this one. If you go to Siman Shin Yud, you'll see more on this. That if you have a jacket, and in your jacket are some coins or some dollar bills, the jacket does not become a basis. It is not. What I mean, but it's carrying it. No, it's not a basis because that is not batel. The jacket,
even if it's not, even if just the dollars in you.
Correct. Even if the dollars are directly in the pocket, it does not become a basis because that was never the intention. A wallet's intention is to be a holder of money. This, maybe I stuck it in there. I was in a rush at some point. And that does not. A basis has to be done with some level of understanding and intent of what's happening. Right? When I light the candle holder becomes a basis. I put it there to hold up the candles. Here, this was done not willingly. I forgot the dollar bill, the $20 bill in my pocket. The jacket does not become about. It becomes more complicated.
My whole wallet.
Or even the wallet, where the wallet doesn't make the wallet's a basis, but it doesn't make the jacket. Right now, it could be that I will be required to remove the jacket, and maybe that's the best way to get rid of this. We'll talk about this more when we get to Shin Yud. I promise you, this is a whole topic about.
But Rav, the whole idea of muktzah is being metaltailed. And if you wear the jacket, or if you have the jacket, then you're being metaltail the muktzah. You can't do that. How could you make that jump?
So take a look. So if you have a Mishnah Berurah, if you have a Shulchan, return to Shinyan for a moment. This is actually relevant because it relates to the last line of the Ramah. Then we'll get back to the Mishnah Berurah. The Ramah, the last line, he says there, which is more our situation, by the way. Most of us don't carry fanny packs around to, particularly on Shabbos. Maybe some people do, by the way. No judgment. You're very fatty pack. That's good. But
Still
but most of us carry things. Most of us carry things in our pockets, which is a key that's tough work. Right? Even if I let go, it doesn't go anywhere. Right? So the the Ramah over there in Shin Yud says the following. He says, "V'chein bakis hatafur beveged." I have a pocket that's sewn into the clothing. Horil v'ikar habeged omed lilposh. The thing is meant to be worn. The item is meant to be worn. That's what it's there for. It's not like a wallet that's meant to be carrying money. Im hotzi hamos misham. Right? Let's say I have if I shake some coins out that were in there, muter lilbosh habeged. I can wear this as the Ramah. The akis botel etzlo. This pocket is not the main part of this whole contraption, this whole beged that I have. And he says, "Aval im shochach bo maos muter letaltel habeged." To move it to Lomrina the whole habeged nase basis lamos. Right. By the way, maybe he's saying here. I have to look at this more carefully. Maybe the keys is big, that pocket. Maybe the pocket where I carry the money. Maybe that's but like we can't say the whole beged is now goner. The money was not on the whole beged. The money, and by the way, here probably I want to be very careful also. Here, what's probably being described is that there was a bag that was sewn into the clothing. Probably not like a pocket like we have today. It was probably something that was sewn on, meant to be a money carrier or something like that on the bag. Aval ein lilovsho b'Shabbos. He does say here that you shouldn't wear this on Shabbos. Why? Not because of the beged is now a goner from a muktzah perspective, from a boss's perspective, because because I might go out with this thing, and the rest of the beged there's a pocket that has money in it. Ironically, I might be able halachically inside my house to wear this thing, but they says don't wear it because maybe you'll go outside with it. So you have to get to one has to. That's why this is a very complicated topic, and we'll have to get to the bottom of all the calculations here that are at play. But for our purposes, if you have here the situation, go back to the Derech HaChaim's opinion. He says that the keys is it has a Torah kli because it didn't become a bus. Let's say it didn't have maos in it, right? It wasn't not lo das said bus lamos. There was money in it, but for whatever reason it wasn't a bus. Which maybe there were other things inside this keys. There were other items which are mutter. If you have a davar, a kli that holds dvarim mutarim and asurim, it does not become a basis. Okay, not necessarily at least. So therefore, let's say there was money, but there were also other things in there that were perfectly fine on Shabbos. So let's say the bag wasn't the basis. Since it was left inside I was carrying it in a manner of forgetfulness. So therefore, it's a kli, so I'm allowed to move it. I can move the bag for the place. I don't want the bag here because I don't want the bag to be in this spot. I need this spot for something for Shabbos. It's in my hand already, so I can go and move it to whatever to a teva. Sounds like almost like a box. Move it to somewhere else that I would like. Things that are like their very essence is muktzah, could go in mos, avonim, money or stones. I'm carrying these items like the stones or the money. Then I'm not allowed to drop it. So he splits here. He says, look, maybe the bag is carryable, but the money is not. So you might have to drop the contents, some contents, but other contents you may be able to move to another spot. So rak yizrok osam techef. What should you do with those items, by the way? Throw them. You're holding money, throw it. Throw it. By the way, what's the difference between you drop it here or in this spot in your house or you throw it over there in your house? You just have to get rid of it. The outside, it might be a difference, by the way. Throwing may end up moving the item when you're inside, you can just go ahead and throw it. No big deal. No difference, I should say. Then, by the way, it's interesting here. He talks about an interesting exception case. I don't want to get too far into this. He talks about what happens if the item that you're carrying here is a mila knife.
Interesting.
Yes, because that it's a problem.
Because then it's first of all, that's muktzah machmas ches from kis. You would never throw it in your life because you could ding it up, and it's not something you want to get gets a ding in it. That's not good. So there he talks about a little bit different, but because of the bris milah, maybe will allow it to be moved, in a more cautious way, because there's another consideration here that's happening on Shabbos. Again, here you're trying to avoid all of the oraisas, and then when there's another consideration, often the rabbis allowed you to not worry about the Derabanan in that moment. Let's not really get too far afield that one. Take a look now, though, in the Mishnah.
The milah knife only becomes usher, we learned, after the bris milah.
Right. So here it probably is also what we're talking about before, right? If it's after the bris milah, obviously you have no usage for it.
On Shabbos.
You could place it down gently. You're right.
Right.
Yes. Exactly. You have to be careful. Yeah, like the milah knife is an interesting, because it's a different category of mutzah. Muktzah machmas ches from kis, which means it's immovable from a halachic perspective. So it becomes like money in that way. Okay, now we'll take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. I wanted to finish the Mishnah Berurah. In yatir chagoro techef v'yipol hamos yuchal lahavi lidei hefsed. Now remember, the opinion here, or the initial opinion was, you're allowed to move it wherever room you want to. You realize you're carrying it, put it whatever room you want to. Why? Because if you were matir the belt right away, the money would fall all over the place. You might lose it. It's whatever. It's going to become perhaps a hefsed. After shagam hagro mutar, maybe even the gra, if there was a real potential for hefsed here, maybe even the gra would permit this to be brought to the room of your choosing. I'm Magen Avraham, sif kat on your dalet, the sif kat on chon. Now, take a look at the next Mishnah Berurah, very important here. Bashuk, let's say you're in the shuk. Or you're on a street that doesn't have a shitufei mavos, a partnership in the alleyway, which allows you to carry in this alleyway. Now, when there, I had to just drop it, and then maybe I can ask the non-Jew to help me watch it. When is this the halacha? When is this the psak? When I'm not worried that any of the non-Jews will take it. Obviously, here, by the way, the assumption is that, of course, a Jew wouldn't take it because it's Shabbos. Why would a Jew take it on Shabbos? They're Shomer Shabbos. But if you are fearful that there will be non-Jews in that area that will take it, I can do the running trick. Run like the wind, and therefore you won't have a hanacha. And therefore, and what will you do? Akira. Sorry, that there should be no akira. That's what I meant to say. There'll be no akira. That's why I'm running. On condition, he has to remember that when he's on his way, he cannot stop to take a moment of a break, to rest. Meaning, when he has this realization, he has to continue staying in motion. Right? He puts his hand in the pocket. He goes, "Oy vey, what's that? I'm carrying it." Okay, and keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Run. Start running. Don't stop. When you have a realization, sometimes human nature is when we realize we've done something wrong. Sometimes we stop in our tracks, like, "What did I do?" Right? No, keep going. Don't stop. Right? That's the whole point. You just realize this. Don't stop. Get close to your house. So anyway, this first one he asked me, he dropped the thing here. He said, can I ask Claudia or Juan can they pick it up, and they hold on to it? That was his question to me, really, because at that point he'd already dropped it.
Right.
He put the garbage can on top. Lamaisa, none of us were going to discover. None of us are really.
Did he? I guess he discovered it when he was outside still.
So I looked this up and I said, "Here, oh look, it says here." No, but he was inside. No, he was in the building.
No, I understand, but when he discovered it,
was
he inside or is he outside?
I never asked. Yeah. I don't know if he only realized it when he was inside or he was outside.
Because if he was outside, you'd have to ask yourself, does the error work? Because that money had no Shabbos purpose.
So he's not even about to carry there. He's allowed to carry outside, but the problem is that it looks like you can't carry money. That's a separate problem, right? The money, whether I could have the most beautiful Eruv with all the chumras, but I can't carry money.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. I don't know if he only realized when he was here, but the money was here, so he asked it, can I? And he was ready. But what happened in the end was he gave up on the money. I said, let me look up. Let me look
But
it
it
up.
was under the garbage can.
Yeah, he said, whatever. You know what? Because he was leaving that night to Israel right after Shabbos. So I think he was davening mincha at some local whatever.
Yeah.
So his parents live here. So I looked this up, and I said so. Then I looked. I was like, look, it says here. Even if you're in the shuk, you can ask a non-Jew to guard this. So I went over. I went over to Claudia, and I said, Claudia, under the garbage can over there's money. I don't know how much. Somebody told me they left money. They were carrying. They're not allowed to carry money on Shabbos. I don't have to say Sabbath on Shabbos. And I said, whatever, you'll do it. You'll hold on to it, whatever. And after Shabbos, I get a text from Claudia or something like that. There are $22 in your box, in my box in the office. So I said, great. So after Shabbos, I get in touch with this fellow. I think he responded after he got to where he was going, and he said, just put it in stock.
Yeah,
just put it in stock. I give it to your parents if you want. Give it to the stock. So that was what ended up happening. But because of that, I looked at this halacha. If you ask a non-Jew, okay, so they can hold on to it for you. You're allowed to ask them to guard it.
So if you hadn't done that, and the staff finds it, would they come over and say it's not $42?
And they would ask what happened. I would say it's lost money. I wouldn't know who. Money doesn't have a simon on it.
But our staff for sure.
Our staff for sure they wouldn't take it. They would be like they're halachically knowledgeable to know that if there was money under a garbage can, probably one of the congregants stuck it there. Yeah. Lamed Zayin. Let's take a look here. Let's finish up the Lamed Zayin. What time is it? 40. Okay, we'll stop with this. If you're scared to rely on the non-Jew, you don't trust. So can tell them to walk to your house. They can carry it, but I'm not violating it. This is just to your point, Simeon. I'm not allowed to do this. But let's say I have $1,000 in my wallet. People might be willing to part with $10 or $20. There's going to come a point where you're not willing to part with that kind of money. And once you hit that threshold, so Chazal understood you're not going to do it, and you're going to make the wrong decision, and you're going to carry it yourself. So therefore, better that we tell you that it's okay to ask the non-Jew to carry it, and that way you don't violate any biblical prohibitions here. So you'll tell the non-Jew, can you please pick up the $1,000 for me, the wallet for me, whatever it was, and you'll carry it. Can you follow me home? I'm not allowed to carry it, but you can carry it for me. That avoids the biblical prohibition. The eighth is though Tov Yosef b'She'ef Shalo Mikol ha'ofanim hanizkar le'el. And this might be better than any of the other ways that were mentioned earlier. What are the ways that were mentioned earlier here? That you have the walking pachos me'arba amos. That's not preferred. Having a non-Jew do it is much better. Because pachos me'arba amos is also derabanan, but I'm doing it. Here the derabanan, at least somebody else is doing it, right? And that's why asking a non-Jew, if you're in an extenuating circumstance, often is the first option we will try to go to, because I'm not doing it. There is something to be said for the fact that I'm not doing it. Almost psychologically, is a better way to do things, even though I might have other ways of doing things that are only rabbinic in their prohibition. Anyway, this is the preferred method. I didn't take a look at the Chai Adam. I don't actually own a Sefer Chai Adam on its own. Probably could have looked it up though, maybe on Bar Ilan has Chai Adam. But apparently Chai Adam, it sounds like he has something to say about this. I'm not sure. We'll stop here. We'll finish this next time with Sif Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel is very short, but we've all come across this in our lives as well. This is something that sometimes kids have the hardest time with, which is what happens when you are walking to shul and you see money on the street. And Shabbos, there's $1, there's $20, there's a quarter. And for a kid, by the way, the quarter is a big deal also, right? Right? It used to be, right? Now they're talking dollars, all right? And So am I allowed, what can I pick it up? It's by the way, what happens if it's not 10, 25 cents? What if it's $10,000? I find 10 $1,000 bills. Somebody left a wad of cash. It's a lot of money. Can I do something with it? Right? If I'm allowed to carry my own money, midrabanan, from wherever from when Shabbos starts till my house, $10,000? Are you kidding me? It's life changing over here. Can I pick it up and walk pachos me'arba amos the rest of the way? I put it on the back of my donkey. Can I do something with it? So we're going to see it's not. We don't have any of the same heterim as we talked about before, but maybe when it comes to asking a non-Jew, Mishnah Berurah might give me some.
Just for the purpose of finding the rightful owner.
What was that? Finding what?
Finding the rightful owner.
So interesting that you say that. It's interesting you say that because that is mentioned here, not in the Mishnah Berurah, but I started looking in the Mishnah Berurah or the Be'er Halacha. He talks about, where did I see this? Yes, the Be'er Halacha talks about trying to find the rightful owner, and is there an overriding heter for Hashava Saveda? If I find something on Shabbos, let's say maybe I could identify whose money it was. I happen to know that my friend the other day told me, he was like, I took out $10,000 of cash, and he walks the same path to shul as me. This is strange. Who carries $10,000 cash? It must be my friend. It's probably a good suspect here. Am I allowed to pick it up in order to fulfill the biblical mitzvah of Hashava Saveda? It's a fascinating question. He talks about here. The answer is going to be, by the way, no. It's a fascinating question. We'll talk about it next week. And then actually already next week, we'll be able to begin the next sin, which is a complete shift. We finished all the Erev Shabbos and dinim of Shabbos, Erev Shabbos leading into Shabbos. Now we will talk about Dinei Hatfila, actually it's the Erev Shabbos. We'll talk about Shabbos Mincha, and then we'll talk about davening on Shabbos. We'll have, transitioning into davening Mariv, the change in the bracha Hashivenu, Hapor Sukkah Shalom. We make the change from Shomer Mo Yisrael to Hapor Sukkah. It's a lot of fascinating and very practical things that happen every single Friday night. All right, we'll stop here. Yes, Simi, I see you have a question. I'm going to turn the recording off, though. Yes, Simi, go ahead.
Everybody should talk. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I enjoyed having your presence here.
So,
Good to be back.
You can. Some Kyle should not talk about.